so
Hi.
good to see you.
Good to see you too.
This is nice to meet you for the first time. I'm just kidding.
I don't see you every day.
No,
my reality.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously. So today, guys, we had Esther here with us. And Esther is a fantastic and inspiring human being. And she's also very artistically talented. So just have to put that out there.
Thanks, Hall.
Yeah, no, but really you have a mad talent. And Esther is originally from New York, and she made Aliyah to Israel. She moved to Israel. And so we're going to get to hear more about her really beautiful story. And so, yeah, stay tuned to hear more about Esther.
Yay!
Esther, we just mentioned the word Aliyah. If you haven't heard this word before, it sounds it kind of has a cool ring at the end, like Aliyah, you know? But can you tell us, what does this word mean, and why is this word significant in your life and your story?
Sure. Okay, so it's funny actually that you did like this with your hand, because Aliyah means to go up. It means to rise.
It works.
Yeah, maybe that's why we're so expressive with our hands. It just like works with the words.
Like the rega one, I always think everybody.
Yeah, rega.
But they're actually just wait.
Wait a second.
You wanna punch? You wanna fight?
Israelis are aggressively nice.
Oh,
I think they're like, I'm being nice to you, and you're like, okay. I'm helping you, and you're like, are you though?
Oh, thank you. If I come to Israel, I will definitely remember these words.
Remember the cultural difference.
Yeah, if somebody's like being like aggressive and whatever, and you're like, I don't know what's happening, you say, oh, you're actually helping me.
But I'm thinking it has the same with Poland.
Really?
Yeah, did you get a little bit afraid about Polish language?
Yeah, or sometimes like when trying to speak Polish,
Really?
it'll be like people either really love it or they're like, huh? Like don't even try. And so I think it depends on the person. I think too it depends on the time, because if it's like somebody who's really busy, they don't really want to try to help me out with my very few Polish words, or maybe they don't speak English. And then if sometimes people have a little time, and then they can be really nice. Yeah, I think it depends. They're really, really nice. Try English and be really patient with me. With I'm asking for a coffee, a coffee. And they're like,
wait, do you speak Polish?
She speaks.
You do?
Does you speak?
I will not say that I'm good with everything, but I'm just okay with Ukraine, Polish, Russian, English.
Mm-hmm, English. She's learning Flemish right now.
Flemish,
Speaks
German, and I know a little bit Latin. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Casually. A little bit.
I just, I could go anywhere and I'll be fine.
No, actually, I could understand Italy languages, but the person I'm living with, this girl, she's studying French and Spanish. So when she's speaking, I'm feeling, out. Just out.
That's like the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things. For example, Japan language.
Yeah, that's so
I'm
different.
studying Korean alphabet. It's the Z one.
Crazy, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
I started studying Farsi, but I don't know. I paused. I need to get back to it. But I was forcing my dad to speak to me in Persian, because that's his native language and his mother tongue, and I just have really wanted to learn it for such a long time. But
which is really cool. That's really cool. You want to be connected to your dad and his culture, which is also your culture too, that's passed on to you.
Yeah, I think that also when a lot of people immigrate, when they switch countries or switch environments, so then they try very hard to like fit into their new environment.
Mm-hmm.
So if we jump back to what is Aliyah and how is it significant in my life, actually that connects really well, because yeah, it does. Way to bring it back. So Aliyah Aliyah here in Israel means that you're moving to Israel, or in general, if you say to somebody, oh, I'm making Aliyah, it means like you're moving to the Holy Land, you're moving to Israel. And I think it's also seen as like taking like a spiritual step up in a way, and like, you know, connecting to our like, you know, history. And so when my parents spoke a lot. I lived in Long Beach, New York, and my parents spoke a lot about making Aliyah. And I hated New York. No offense to anyone from New York. I think it's a great place. It's just not home to me. And I think even as a child, I was kind of just like, I don't really want to live here. I don't feel at home here. This isn't where I belong or what I want to be doing with my life. And like, I was one of those weird kids that was very independent from a very young age. So yeah.
We're all in good company.
I think,
let's make a club.
Yeah. I'm happy to join this club. Independent women, all for it.
Yeah.
From a young age. So yeah, so I told my parents I really wanted to leave New York, and they were like, yeah, okay. And I was like, no, I really want to leave New York. And then when I was 15, when I was in 9th grade, my sister and I said to my parents, okay, you've been talking about this, and you've been talking about it, and you've been talking about it, and like, when are you going to do it? Because, you know, get a move on. Like, stop talking the talk, start walking the walk.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, okay. And then they started to do the process. And back then it was like, I think it was like 14 years ago, that we had that conversation with them, maybe 15. And they, Aliyah took a lot of time back then. Now it's much quicker, I think, because of the bureaucracy and how it's changed over the years. But then you had to go through like a couple of different offices to open up a file and apply and blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm sure that there are still application forms today. I don't know what the process is today. But anyway, I went to them and I found a high school program. A friend of mine introduced me to a high school program called Naale, and it's a program that pretty much allows Jewish teens from. They have a program from the Ukraine. They have a program from. They had one from Mexico and South Africa for a while, and I don't know if it's still going. I don't know. I actually haven't followed the program and how they've been doing, but I do know that the American program stayed open. And I was the first year of a religious American program.
That's so cool.
So it was and it wasn't.
Like being a guinea pig for
yeah. Yeah. We were like, when I signed up, I was kind of like, oh, you'll have separate classes and they'll slowly teach you the language, and you'll be in a school that accommodates people who are just moving to Israel and don't speak Hebrew. And like, I had very basic Hebrew. I think I can tell you the words that I knew. I knew how to say ceiling. No, I didn't know how to say ceiling. I knew how to say roof. I couldn't say ceiling. So when I tried to tell people, I knew how to say room. So when I first got to Israel and I tried to tell people something about the ceiling, I remember saying like the roof of the room. And they were like, you mean the ceiling? And I was like, yes. I like didn't know the word for it. Anyway, that was like my level of Hebrew. And then when we got here, they were kind of like, it's more of a sink or swim situation. So that was, that was interesting.
And you are thriving today, and you learned Hebrew too, which I think is like really admirable that you, especially like being 15, showing up, learning Hebrew, and like that is really amazing.
Yeah. It's also, I think it's an interesting language. Like once you understand some of the like rules on how it works, then it makes it a lot easier. I think that that's a lot of languages are like that. And I think also when you're immersed, when you're just totally immersed and you don't have a choice. Like when I first got here, we were 4 girls on the program, and like my family wasn't here yet, and so we literally had to learn the language, because otherwise we were just stuck speaking to 4 people and like the 1 or 2 girls that enjoyed trying to speak English with us, you know. so yeah. And I think it's also really amazing that, I mean, I moved here without having ever been here before. So that was a bit of a Russian roulette.
Yeah.
And I think I just got very lucky.
Could I give you a small question between
sure.
your story? I'm just thinking, do you feel right now at home in your in Israel?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've lived in multiple places since I moved here. I like traveling a lot, and I've seen lots of places, but I've lived see, it's part of the club.
Like perfect.
Yeah.
The independent children woman that grew up and loved to travel.
That grew up and loved traveling. Yeah. I think I've lived on 3 continents, and this is definitely my favorite. I feel most at home in Israel. There are times where I'm like, I miss this thing about America, or I miss this thing about Australia, or you know, like there are things that that I've enjoyed like in other places, but this is just home. You know, I always like, whenever I come back to Israel, even if I've been away for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, I always like come back and there's always this like, oh, I'm home. Okay. I can breathe again.
That's so beautiful.
You know? Yeah. It is a crazy culture. Like what we were talking about before. It's not like the simplest
part about it to you, and what was that transition like coming from American culture, which is quite different, just as you said, from Israeli culture?
You can tell it like for a person who never lived there, so please.
I think like the biggest shock was, sometimes I still have culture shocks, even though I've been here majority of my life now. Like I've been here 16 years.
Yeah.
And like it's always been a question for me, like what we were saying in the beginning, what I said, like when I switched over back into the Aliyah question of like how you relate to certain cultures. So I think that when I first moved here, there was a huge culture shock of these girls who were like so much more aggressive than what I was used to. And they put us in a school that was not accommodating to Americans. It was intense. And it's just very different from American culture in general.
And what would be that, like more maybe assertiveness in Israel, like some examples? Like...
Here, if you want to get something done, you have to push for it to get done. You know, if you want like you don't call the internet company and they just help you with the problem. Holly knows. There was like, I think there was like 2 months where I was calling the internet company every single day, because each time I called them for help, it was like the one person just passed me off to someone else, or the next person just like, they like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a culture thing or if that's just the company. But like the bureaucracy here of getting things done in government is the same way. So like when you want to like when you want to go to certain government offices because you have questions or whatever, you have to like plan your whole day around that.
Hey Esther, welcome back. You may have noticed we changed location and that you saw that there was a cut.
Wow.
But we actually had to move our location, and so now we're in a lovely little cafe here.
I love it.
We're ready to continue our conversation.
Looks great.
But yeah, I can't remember where we left off.
I don't remember. I think I was talking about the culture differences.
Oh yeah.
Between Israel and America.
Culture shock. And your culture shock.
Yes, my culture shock.
And how it's hard to get what you want in Israel.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's a fight for it.
It is.
Chutzpah.
But you know what? You do have to have chutzpah. That's a really good way of putting it. But I do think that because Israel is such a melting pot of so many different cultures, that's like slowly changing, you know? Like the concept that the customer is always right is non-existent here. So it does not exist here. So that's something that's changing. Love the tea.
Going.
Yeah, for your health.
Actually, what is that goes in line with what is cheers in Hebrew?
L'chaim.
And what is l'chaim mean?
Life. To life. Have you ever seen Fiddler on the Roof? To life.
Yes.
Life.
So to life.
Life.
L'chaim.
I love it.
Um,
It's very hot.
It is very hot.
Very hot. It's like steaming.
Yeah, you can see the steam then. Okay, we'd love to ask some more questions. Would you like to click?
Yeah.
No, I can go
So
ahead.
I want you to continue your story, but I know that like I was always so happy to hear how strong the military side is in Israel. And actually I'm one of the soldiers in Poland. So I was,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
And I just fall in love in your system. And could you tell me more about how this happened? Maybe you take part in, or your family members, and how it happened. But please continue your story. I'm just really thinking how you
It's
feel.
fine. I don't have to talk about myself.
What you did.
Well, I didn't do military service. I did something called shirut laumi, which is national service. But the idea is that everyone gives back to the country. Everyone has their way of giving to the country for however long. So shirut laumi, the requirement, it's actually not required. Once you're exempt from military service, everyone is called up for military service. Not everyone, but majority of people are called up for military service. And then if you're a religious woman, or there are various reasons why you can get out of it. My reason was that I'm religious and I don't want to be in the army. There are all kinds of Jewish traditions for women, especially. It's like a huge debate here in Israel, actually. Who should be called to the army? Who shouldn't be called to the army? Should the religious men be called? Should the religious women be called? It's been a huge political debate here, actually. It was like a conversation in the elections. Like it's a huge conversation. But on a more personal level, so my brother did the army, and my boyfriend did the army. He actually just had reserves for like 2 weeks. Yeah. I think that you kind of get used to the concept that that there's so much military in the culture here. It very much, I feel at least, that it very much has shaped Israeli society.
because from the start, from when the country became independent, they've just been dealing with all kinds of conflict, and so like very quickly they had to be very good strategists, and very quickly they had to, you know, and very quickly everyone who could had to give their time. So I think it became a part of the culture here from a very early part of when the state was established. And I think that in a lot of homes, it's considered like an honor, you know, like people want to be in certain positions, so they'll work hard throughout high school to be a certain way so that they can have a certain position in the army. But I think that, like what I was saying about so many cultures coming and everything shifting a little bit, so there was always also this kind of like gava, which is like arrogance almost, to like the people who were in the higher up positions in the army, and then anybody who was in like a lower position was considered like a little bit, you know, less. And today, so like I said, I did national service. So national service is a choice. Anybody who gets out of the army can choose to not do anything, or they can say, you know, the army wasn't for me, but I still want to give back to my country. I want to help the country grow. I want to help the country develop. So I did that. I did 2 years of national service, and then and my first year I was working in a village down south in Israel, with people with disabilities, and later in like half my day was there and half my day into the evening was in like communities in the area.
Great study. Yeah.
It's a lot. I think it's also very interesting because it demands a certain level of maturity from young people.
That is very true. Yeah.
And we have like such high expectations from the people doing these services, whether it's in the army or it's doing national service. Like the amount of responsibilities that I had as an 18-year-old were not something that I would have had as an American 18-year-old, let's just say. I was like running a community service for like a 400 family community down south, and like making big choices and decisions about like what was going to happen on a weekend or on a daily basis, or I was given a budget for an entire year and had to figure out how much I was going to spend in each quarter of the like what
skills, like, and that must make you so mature too, having to like handle all that and responsible, and then just like human beings like on their own being more mature and responsible make the society better as a whole too.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that, like, I'm sorry, I'm just transferring it to my countries and how to develop my countries from your experience. I'm just thinking that it's perfect to feel like that we are taking responsibilities what happened, and it's so important lessons that you had to be like in not the best location that everyone usually comes, but be in this worst one, and to look how life is actually in your country. It's so important. I think it really shapes you as another person totally, and another feelings of your country and why you are here and where are you from. Wow.
Yeah. I think it's like you said, it like connects you more to the land. And I don't know, I really one year some of my national service I really enjoyed, some of it I enjoyed less. I think that for everyone it's a big transitioning stage in life in general, and then you add to that we're doing these like huge things. You have 18-year-olds in the army who are commanders, and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds, and it's huge. They're making life and death decisions sometimes, and it's a big responsibility. And I think that what I was saying about like the shift is that more and more people are recognizing that not everyone belongs in that system. and not everyone can handle the army. And the trauma that it can cause for some people is not necessarily what will happen to someone else. So what might be good for that person is not necessarily going to be good for someone else. And there are more and more men choosing to do national service, and more women choosing to go into the army. So it's kind of, it's an interesting like change that's going on. And there are the people that are just trying to get out of it in general. But you know.
Like, could I ask you a question? Because you say that because of the religion, it's something giving interesting point of the military things. Could I ask why? And because I'm from Greek Catholic Church, so my religion is not saying some things about it. So I'm just really wondering what your religion say about it, and in what you believe.
So that's a complicated question. And I'm just gonna answer shortly because I do need to go soon.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going to Tel Aviv from here. It will take me a while to get there. So there are things that are required of a person when they're in the army. There are things that you might have to do, like that sometimes it will be breaking the Sabbath, or sometimes it will be men and women in certain situations together. The army is actually pretty good about keeping them separate, but like there are women's units and men's units, and like there are a few that are co-ed, and today there's actually more accommodation towards religious women who want to go into the army. Yeah, you can, I mean, it's still less common. There are girls that will only wear skirts in the army. But for me, when I was like making that decision, I know, Holly.
Sorry, I really like trousers. They're really comfortable for me.
I do too, I have to say. But when I was like making,
we have this connection.
But when I was like choosing whether or not to do national service or to do the army, I didn't wear pants then. I only wore skirts for religious reasons.
And then you switched.
Oh no, you froze a second. Yeah. Well, because I wanted to relate to both of you.
Yeah, you know.
No. But then I didn't want to, and I kind of, for me it was kind of like, if I'm not going to go into the army and be able to do it properly, I don't really want to do it. Like I think I'm very much the type of person that, like, when I choose to do something, when I decide to do something, I like go all in. And so for me to say like, oh, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to be limited in what I can do, and I'm going to be limited in the things that I can do, and only certain positions will be open to me, and I won't have a choice in where I'm going. That for me was really difficult. And the biggest reason why I didn't go to the army was actually my parents.
Oh, really?
Yes. My parents are more religious than I am. They're more Orthodox than I am. And they were very against the idea of a religious girl being in the army because of everything that I said, and also because it's a very male environment. Yeah. And there's a large focus about modesty in Jewish religion around women, especially. In men as well, but it's a little bit less. But in the Orthodox Jewish community, modesty is a huge topic of discussion. And the level of modesty, like what I was saying about the skirts, so like the level of modesty that can actually be kept in the army is difficult. And my parents were really against it. And as independent as I am, and I was kind of like, yes, maybe I should go into the army anyway. Maybe I was like debating with them, and I was like, I was making my own decisions. And then I was also kind of like, I think I'm going to do this. And then they would be like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I think that's the right thing for me to do. I want to go to the army. And they're like, but are you sure? And then at some point they sat me down and they said, look, you've made a lot of your own decisions from a very young age, like I said, and we've respected them and supported them. And we would really like for you not to go to the army. You can still give back to your country. You can still do national service. You have so many options. Please, out of respect for us, don't go. So that was heavy. and like respecting my parents is a big deal for me. And so I didn't go. And instead, I went down south, a couple of kilometers away from Sderot and from Gaza, which is just as dangerous as the army. And I was in a war zone during my first year of national service. My dad was not happy. But, you know, there's only so much. There's like, you know. So yeah, that was like a big, but from a religious aspect, modesty is a huge one, and what you can and can't keep as a religious person can be challenging, even as a guy. I know that a lot of religious guys struggle as well during their army service. So
Thank
you. Thank you for the
Thank
answer.
and like it's really fascinating, and I think and speaking like of religion, I think to wrap it up, because I know you need to go, and I so appreciate your time.
Thank you really.
it's my pleasure.
But for our final question is, we'd love to hear, like, we've had a lot of great conversations, Esther, about like differences between like Judaism and Christianity, literally till like being on the phone till like 3-4 a.m. because we're so curious.
I see her today. It's like my maybe first or second time. So
yeah. No, like you're so like just like we have like such interesting conversations, and like, I always love it. It's always like so great to like learn from you, and I'd love to hear what you think is like one of the most interesting differences between like your conversation Judaism and Christianity or
what you can
the
like
cultures behind it,
or like another option, you can wish something for our audience, like the words that you want that we think about it more, you know, like signed of you.
Okay, those are both heavy. Give me a second.
Girl, we made it.
And again, we're really respectful of your time, so if you like look at the time and you're like, I'm like, you know.
Well, I think Holly and I have covered so many topics. In like, I mean, there have been days where we like started talking, I think at 4 because we were actually working, and we would like be coming up with content for work, and we'd work and we'd work and we'd work, and then it would be like 7 o'clock, and we'd be like, oh, we should stop working now, and then like I'll move on to painting, because I was painting a project for someone, and Holly will
Beautiful.
Thank you. And Holly will move on to making food or something, you know, and then we'll just wind up talking about anything and everything. And I think, I mean, maybe if I just state some of the topics that we've covered, those, I think, no.
Yeah, sure, you can go.
Oh, okay. I mean, we've definitely talked about how we were raised.
Yeah.
We've talked about what's accepted, like how accepting the religion is of differences.
Yeah.
We've talked about contraception. That one was a big shock for me.
That one was
a
really interesting.
That one was really interesting because I was like, I did a whole paper on not specifically on Judaism, just on the origins of birth control for a school, for like uni. And then Holly was like, oh, we don't have contraception. And I was like, what does that mean?
And like Catholic,
I just like, no.
Evangelical, like there's a lot of different theologies in the evangelical, but
yeah. So
doctrine, there's
it's like a huge. That's a whole other conversation though. But it was like, yeah, we've talked about marriage and relationships just in general.
Yeah.
What else? I think we've spoken a little bit about schooling. And also like how we've shifted in our religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was also really interesting because like I didn't realize that there were so many options within Christianity, and like Judaism is very similar in that way, that you have like many different ways of keeping it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've talked about like rituals within the religion, holidays within the religion, and that's diverse. That's like, it's very different from the way we do things, I think.
Distinct differences.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like some like random things that really connect too, where it's like, wow, like there's like some sort of like streamlined connection here, and then but this part is like approached really differently.
Yeah.
There's a connection.
Yeah. It'll be like small details. We'll be like, oh, but I don't do that. Yeah. What do I want to say to everyone? I'll say quickly. I think that the world is so diverse today, and there are so many different ways of approaching so many different things, whether it's your own religion or other people's religions. And I think it's so healthy to be able to just converse about those differences and not try to convince the other person that your way is the correct way. That was also something we spoke about a lot.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, how like both from like a personal level and also from a religious level, from a religious perspective, what it means to talk about your religion in an open conversation without trying to get the other person to understand why your truth is the truth, and why it can't be like, okay, that's the way you believe and this is the way I believe. And I think just my message to people would be like, be accepting of people's differences and beliefs, and what you believe can be great and true for you, and what someone else is believing can be great and true for them. And if they lived your life, they might be miserable, and if you lived their life, you might be miserable, but living your own life, you might be really happy. So like, I think it's a really important thing to respect and accept. Yeah. And I'm so glad I got to talk to you guys.
Yeah, that's something I appreciate.
Julia, you're always welcome to join our late night conversations.
I am in club. I feel like Esther and I are talking about like contraception or marriage.
Yeah, come on over. We're talking about
guys, I'm in a group.
Well, we talked a really interesting conversation that I think we like touched base on that we can always like expand on was actually like within marriage, that there are like Jewish laws within marriage and like things like that. And there's just like, it's such a there's a whole I don't know, we always wind up talking about really interesting
marriage things. Like between like Judaism and Catholicism, like there were definitely like very definite steps. Like you meet with some sort of like official in your faith, and you talk with them, and you have some sort of class, and you have like some sort of preparation to be like, are you like really ready to take this on? Like this is a commitment. Which is interesting that like both our faiths have that, and then obviously they're approached in like very different ways, and obviously different things are you know?
Like the laws of marriage are
I think we started that because I think I asked you if it's okay in Judaism to what's it called when you get married on a whim, if it's okay to what's it called when you get married on a whim?
Oh, to elope.
Yeah, because I think I asked you, and you
Elope.
you elope.
I remember it actually.
And like,
And I was like, you can, but you need to have 2 Jewish witnesses. So, and you have to,
Manage it, Holly. Don't be
now you
afraid.
know.
We'll do it for you.
yeah, now you know. Anyone who's watching this, now you know. And you,
Like Judaism. Come on.
I know, but I'll have a Catholic marriage.
Aww.
See, this is an
We'll
good
wait for
conversation
you.
right here. We have
Yeah.
different preferences and choices, and like, but we can have a good open conversation and learn a lot from each other. Like I learned a lot from you, Esther.
Yeah, me
and
too.
great that we can have these conversations openly, even if they're like weird and like.
I think
sometimes,
it's really
I think also like,
you say
what,
about-
Julia? You froze?
Do you hear me?
You just froze for a second.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. You can
On
talk.
my
You can talk. You can say it. What do you want?
No. What were you saying?
I just want to say that it's so important that you said about acceptance, and it's I think it's a key to be open to see a word like bigger and really beautiful, and don't see so many bad things and things that they are different, but things that we are common, and in this point to make it a similar way, to make a way, for example, from me to you, and I said it so many things from you, Holly, and today from you. So I'm just like really glad to meet you girls.
For sure.
Any final
Awesome.
words, Esther?
I'll see you tomorrow. I won't see you tomorrow, actually.
You actually know I won't see you tomorrow.
Again.
That's the other thing. Weekend in Israel is Fridays and Saturdays, whereas weekend here is Saturdays and Sundays. So that's
Yes.
this weekend. I don't. I'm giving class all day and working.
Yes. But then Sunday will come around and Holly will have Sunday and I will work.
And I'll have my job, and Esther has to work.
Yes.
Like,
Okay,
so, yeah.
girl.
All right, you have
All right.
a lovely evening. Enjoy Tel Aviv.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on our channel and chatting with us, Esther.
My pleasure.
And our viewers, we wish you to feel this atmosphere with us and to see how interesting the word is, and like I think like enjoy it and be open to new opportunities, to be brave and do Esther to make a decision that could make your words happier. Yeah, really love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.